Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 714 podcast. I got a special guest with me, a returning guest, actually.
Yeah.
I got my cousin Hritik here.
Hello, everyone. I'm glad to be back on the podcast. How you doing, Jim?
I'm good. Good. Yeah, how about you?
Doing pretty well, actually.
Yeah, see you repping the Lakers
Kobe,
jersey.
bro. You have to rep Kobe. It's a tragedy.
Yeah.
He's a legend.
Mm-hmm.
We grew up watching him.
Yeah, I yesterday. Did you see the game?
Yes, I was
against the
watching the
Lakers?
game.
I
wish they won.
Yeah, but it was like a tough game
Yeah, it was so tough, emotional game.
Because as you guys know, Kobe died of a horrific accident on last Sunday. I mean, can't believe it's already like a week.
That's crazy.
But they gave like a really good tribute to him at the Staples Center. We're actually going to go after this.
Yeah, we're going to go give our love, give our tribute to him.
Yeah.
Because we would grow up, like our cousins put us on to Kobe because they're a little older, so we grew up like young age watching Kobe and just like watching him progress, like 18-time NBA All-Star. Like he's a legend. He's got 81 points, second highest, right?
Yeah.
Scoring NBA player. Yeah, and Will Chamberlain. So that's like, and his mentality, like as you know, the Mamba mentality, like that's the hardest mentality to like be consistent with and achieve, because I'm actually wearing his 4 a.m. like Kobe Bryant shoes right now because that mentality of waking up at 4 a.m. and just grinding and going to the gym, playing for hours, eating healthy, and then going back to he'd go to the gym like 2 times a day. But he said he loved the process. You can't achieve success unless you love the journey to get there.
Yeah.
So he proved that point pretty much. And one story that my brother told me was his trainer was actually at a bar till like 1:30, 2 a.m. He was pretty drunk, came home, and then fell asleep for about an hour until he got a phone call from Kobe Bryant, like, get up, we're going to the gym. Like, I'm already here. I'm waiting for you. So that shows his dedication that he called his trainer, and his trainer had to be there. He could let off his trainer. So that's like, that was a pretty cool story where Kobe's always there. He doesn't need his trainer to push him to be there because he's going to be there no matter what.
Yeah. Like Shaq, I think, said like during shoot around when they were playing together, like Kobe, when the coach was like telling everybody like in a huddle, like to like this is what we're gonna work on today. He was just like doing pump fakes with no ball, just like working on it in a full sweat, just like shadowing his moves, and that's just like the dedication it takes to be great. Like the amount of sacrifice that he's had to give to be the best in the game is just unbelievable. And like what really makes this sad story that he's gone already is that like he had so much more to give. Like even after basketball, like he was on a different chapter in life.
Absolutely.
And he had, he won an Oscar, and he was gonna still coach, his daughter's team. Yeah. He had so many more people to teach.
Yeah, what a lot of people are sad about, including me, is like the family, because he was an amazing dad. Like that one of the interview, a clip of him is very popular right now, where he said like, people coming up to me and being like, and Gianna, his daughter, who also passed in the crash, she'd be sitting next to him, and they say, "Oh, you need a boy to carry on the legacy," She'd be like, "Oh no, I got this. Like, don't worry." So that just showed like he was such a great motivator and great coach to his daughter. So yeah, it's very sad, but I'm just worried about like the family, like Vanessa and 3 other daughters that she has to take care of. She came out of the silence and wrote like a touching paragraph saying that like everything helps, all the like people have been so sad for like, it's been 6 days, and it's like, it's only going to be like a matter of time till like everyone just gets back to like normal. But I mean, although it's not going to be normal for like a little bit, because even during the game, it wasn't. I felt like it was a little different. The crowd was a little different. They kept chanting Kobe, which is like, it's pretty crazy that and a lot of people are saying it felt like they lost a family member when they've only seen him on TV. Some have seen him in games. I wish I got to see him play a game, but I would watch him on TV so much. A lot of my cousins have seen him at Fashion Island. So yeah, our families has other stories of meeting him. So yeah.
I mean, I like what LeBron said, like that. This is more like a celebration of his life. You know, it was a sad time when that news broke out, but we should always realize like the things that he did do, and that this is more of a celebration of his life, and we should celebrate that instead of looking at the negative side.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, it was pretty tough for the team. Even the coach said after in the press conference that like this is like an emotional day. And was it Damian Lillard went off that on yesterday's game?
He had like 48 points.
Yeah. So, and he actually, I think he tweeted before that he's going to come into the game with like a Mamba mentality. And he, after the game, when he got the interview, he was saying like the only thing I could do was celebrate him through the Mamba mentality, through trying to play as best as possible, like putting their hearts out on the game, on the court. So I think that's what he actually did. So that's a great way of celebrating Kobe. So Damian Lillard, shouts out. Great job yesterday in the game.
Yeah, and every team basically gave like a tribute to him, and like they did that 24-second
violation. For the first team who got the ball from the tip off, and then the second team would do the 8-second backcourt violation. So that's
and like you said, like he was like a family member, like to a lot of people, especially in this city, like in Southern California, especially. The amount he meant to all of us, like he was our Michael Jordan.
That's for our generation. He was a Michael Jordan, just as like people in the 80s and 90s when they grew up watching Michael, like that's like in the 80s. So that's their Michael Jordan. But
like I remember watching like countless number of games where the Lakers would be down by like 10 points, and it was like the fourth quarter, like 5 minutes left, but you'd still watch because you know Kobe would give it his all. Like you would still believe in them, and you would still root for them to win, and that's what makes it so special. And
he was a clutch master. That's for sure.
A lot of shots that he made, like to win the game.
Oh yeah, buzzer beater shots. Those were his like. That was a specialty, pretty much.
That turnaround jumper, like he would back them down, spin move, fade, and then fade
away. That fade away. Lil Wayne's song, Kobe Bryant, that he released 10 years ago. Like, if you know that song, I feel like you're a fan of Kobe Bryant, because that song was like was so good. It was just like he got like, who is it? He got LeBron James' voice on there, like his interview voice. He's like, oh, he's the greatest player of all time and stuff. So like, it showed Kobe's skill in that song and the music video on YouTube. Recommend checking it out.
Lil Wayne also dropped a new album, and he dedicated like the album to Kobe by having the track list be 24 songs, and also the 8th track has a 24-second silence, which is
I think it was a great album too. We were listening to it on the way here, and just like I've been listening to it too. Great album by Lil Wayne. He came back after a minute.
And like also like Nipsey Hussle, who also tragically died last year.
Yeah.
You know, he meant a lot to the city as well.
Yeah.
But like for me, Kobe definitely. It was just more of a surprise. It was more like a.
Yeah, I woke
like
up. I actually.
My heart was gone.
I was the one who told you, right?
Yeah.
I called him just
like
to
at
see.
first, I didn't even know.
Yeah, I called him. I told my brother too. I was the first. So I woke up, went straight to Snapchat, and then just saw like one person's story, and I'm like, oh no! Like I went straight to the internet, searched it up, and then kept refreshing. And as I refreshed and refreshed, more news stories came in. I'm like, okay, this is a fact. And then I just went and told my family. They're like, what the hell? Especially my brother, dude. My brother, he was so sad. He's had like this signed Kobe poster, I guess, or frame.
Yeah.
And so yeah, he's had like jerseys. He's bought like 2-3 Kobe shoes. He played basketball because of him. His number in basketball and volleyball was 24. So yeah, he was sad. Everyone was sad pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
It was sad.
Yeah, it was a tough loss, but we gotta celebrate his life and continue that Mamba mentality into the future, into whatever we do.
Yeah, love the journey, not just the success that you get at the end.
Yeah,
love how you get there.
Mm-hmm.
But some new topics: the coronavirus outbreak in China. That is that's one wild thing. Kind of like similar to SARS and the flu, but just a little little more hectic. Like it's been spreading very quickly. It's hard to find. It's a virus, so it's hard to find that cure to it because it could change just a little bit of its structure and just keep going. So that's the hard thing about fighting viruses.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's been when did it start? Do you know
I think
exactly?
I think it started it's only been probably 2 weeks, probably.
2 weeks.
But there's this video on Instagram where people are just in Wuhan where it originated. I think it was from their meats, their products, because it's not very sanitary over there. The animals are just are pooping and then they just live in that pretty much, and it's not very sanitary environment. So basically the outbreak happened about 2 weeks ago, and
it's starting to grow even more.
Yeah.
From there.
And then so there's this video where that's what I was gonna say. There's this video on Instagram, and people are just literally they're just standing there on their phone. Someone was working and he just dropped and just passes away just like that. And there's just all the ambulance over there. They're all in big protective suits. The hospitals are just flooded now, and if you don't wear a mask, there's probably a 99% chance you'll get it.
I saw a video on YouTube of this guy, he's a journalist.
Oh yeah. He's this. I actually saw that too. I think I know what you're talking about. Where he's they don't want you to know this, but there's actually this was probably 5 days ago, a week ago, and he was saying at that time the confirmed cases were only probably a couple thousand.
Mm-hmm.
And the confirmed deaths were 200, 300. But again, these are confirmed deaths. They're not going to go look for people who are just dying. It's probably the people in the hospital that pass. So people on the street are just dying. They can't really implement that into that number that they have.
So it's basically unknown. Really.
Yeah, it's unknown, and he was saying that there's around 90,000 infected and a couple thousand deaths already. So it's it's crazy. I don't know. I used to play this game in Infected or something on my phone.
Oh yeah,
and we would always play it, and that's pretty much
mutation for a virus. If you that's what makes it so deadly. is that like viruses can never truly be like killed. It's always going to be in your body.
Got that. So microscopic mutation. So from what I know, when your immune system goes down, that's when it starts. It's an opportunity to attack, I guess. It's pretty scary. But there was over in Orange County, there was one lady who came from Wuhan, China, and she went to like South Coast Plaza, which is really close, and we go there sometimes too. Yeah. So they're advising not to go there. Apparently, someone in Hoag Hospital, probably about like 4 or 5 days ago, went into Hoag Hospital in Newport Beach, and he had symptoms of the coronavirus. I don't know if like he has it. He had it for sure. He walked in there, from what I've heard. So yeah, hopefully it hasn't spread, but it's the type of thing to spread. So
yeah, like the symptoms are like
just like flu-like. Yeah, it's flu-like. So it's pretty. You don't know what you have, but it's pretty scary.
Mm-hmm. And it's like now moving into different countries. I heard too, like in India,
in Europe, there's a first case, and when you hear a first case, like it can spread by breathing in someone's, standing next to someone who has it. They cough, and you breathe, you'll likely have it. They sneeze, you breathe, you likely have it, and it could also spread through eye mucus. I don't really know what eye mucus is, but
I think it's like when you sleep.
That stuff.
Crust develops sometimes.
Yeah, but that's scary. Like I don't know how like it can maybe stick to your like eyes and get through it to there, something like that. But when I heard that, I'm like, damn. So you don't really have like anything if you wear a mask and like you're next to someone, and if it gets in your eye mucus, then that sucks.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a difficult time right now. Even in Australia, there's those fires.
It hasn't really went down, huh? It's just like
I think so.
It went down. It's so hard to like.
But I think it went down just because like it burns so much that there's not that much to burn
anymore.
Yeah,
and like over a billion animals.
Yeah, probably like more now. But it's just like sad to hear.
Yeah, and then those. I think the Iran thing, I think that's like settled down, but it was kind of like a big topic about World War III and stuff. But they're just unhappy that their leader died. But
I think like somebody else was like killed too. I'm not sure exactly who the leader was, like, but it was like part of like a terrorist organization. But yeah, like
dude, my friend, he showed me a picture of this. Like he was known for like calling like bomb threats and like or like dropping bombs, calling in airstrikes on innocent people and stuff. He was just a terrible person, and he was just this big, like gargantuan fat guy, and like a big beard, and so they would have to transport him in the back of a pickup truck.
Jeez.
He was like a good like 600 pounds.
Damn.
So this man could not walk, and he would be the one sitting in there calling in all these terrible things on people. So I was like, damn, dude, like
how did he even get into power?
Yeah, how did he get into that power? This man's sitting there eating like freaking Big Macs. I know.
Who would want to drive him around?
They have to like get like
he either has like a lot of money or like
he really
like
something.
Has like mob ties where he could kill you.
Mob ties, exactly. That's probably what it was. But I was like, he showed me that like picture on Instagram. I'm like, no way. That's true. And I was just laughing when I saw the pictures. Dude, like they lift him onto a pickup truck, like put him in. This man can't move, bro. His arms don't even reach the ground if he's trying to push himself up.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, like when that like news broke out of like a World War III, like that, it was insane.
I know,
like
dude. The TikTok memes, like, and all the memes and stuff.
Everybody thought like
they're about to get drafted or something, and then like the equality memes. I think it's funny.
Yeah. That was
But
I mean, luckily, nothing really happened. Nothing escalated too much. But like now, the Trump is still like in the process of getting impeached still. So
I think like 75% of like people wanted to hear more, wanted to like go into it more. So he's still definitely in the process. He's not.
yeah,
But the fact that the Senate is mostly Republican, and they're gonna fight for him, so it's gonna be like tough. If I don't have any type of like side on it, but it's gonna be tough if people want him impeached fully. By the
like
Senate as
removed
well.
from office.
Yeah, removed from office.
Yeah, like he's like the third president I think that's ever been impeached. And
it was Clinton, and then it wasn't Nixon because Nixon resigned before.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure. Was it Jackson? Andrew Jackson?
I don't think so. I'll look it up. But third president, I mean, that's gonna be in like the history books.
Yeah.
Like
exactly.
But if he does get removed, that'll be an even bigger blow. Like, can you like run again if you're removed?
I don't know. I don't think you can. If you're impeached, you can't. What are like the articles of impeachment? Like obstruction of Congress. And something about like power.
Not sure exactly, but
oh no, it wasn't Jackson.
It's Andrew Johnson.
Andrew Johnson.
Yeah.
In 1868, dude.
Nixon, he was. They say he was impeached, but he wasn't removed from office. He would have been
if he didn't resign.
Yeah.
So damn, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I mean,
talk about what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say like the new president race. It's 2020. What are your thoughts on the?
I don't really like follow politics that much, but what is it? The Andrew Yang.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like he's like a good young person who kind of knows what he's doing. Yeah,
like he's been on a tear in like the media and Twitter. He's gotten a lot of supporters from social media.
Yeah, like one of his like presentations or whatever, he was saying to federally legalize like marijuana and like legalize psychedelics for like veterans and stuff who have like PTSD and like all these problems where that stuff can help. And so I think that he has good intentions. Yeah, like I think Andrew Yang, like even though like he's like an underdog really because Bernie Sanders and like the other candidates are Biden. Yeah, Biden have more supporters, but like it all depends on like if you go out and vote. So if you can vote, then make sure you go out and vote whoever your candidate is. Yep, I'm gonna be 18 June 10th, so I'll be able to vote. I already did the pre-registration in school. They're like, if you want to do it, do it. I'm like, okay. Yeah. And so like this 2020 election, I mean, it's either, like if Trump doesn't get impeached, he has still a good chance of winning. Like there's a pretty much that's why like no one's running for like Republican, dude. Like if you run for Republican, no, dude, unless Trump gets impeached, you don't have a chance. Yeah, like and he's saying that he's gonna run again. So the Republican Party already supports. Didn't Cardi B want to do something in politics? Bro, I swear I saw like a couple things on this stuff. I know. Where, like,
Kanye was like
dude, that was like 2012, bro. That was like late.
He said he was gonna run for 2020.
Yeah, that never happened. Yeah. But Cardi B's like, I've always loved like politics and like and then.
Trump's opening doors now, like from the entertainment industry into politics.
I know. She was talking about like politics on her Instagram, like making a video, and then I think someone like posted one of her tweets or one of her old Instagram posts, and it was like the caption was, "I wonder how pee tastes like," and it was just a picture of her. And so I'm like, oh, you're gonna bring back your past like that? Like, damn. Like, so that was just funny. But I think she's changed. But I don't know if she's she has the not potential, but I don't think she's a good like fit for being in politics.
Like the first
at that level, yeah.
The first woman president, Cardi B.
I know, dude. There hasn't been a woman president, but this year I don't think there's too many good male candidates that.
Like I don't even. Yeah, there's like Tulsi Gabbard. Like, let me look up the Democratic candidates.
Yeah.
Like, there's a few actually, but that's what makes them like divided. In a sense, you know, that
it's a little division between the Democratic Party inside of. Yeah, a lot of like the females were Democratic and like the nation are voting for
Joe Biden. Michael Bloomberg, he recently
dropped.
He recently entered the race. Like,
recently.
And guess how much like he's like using an advertisement. Like he's, I think he's paid almost like.
Says he's a billionaire. So probably a lot.
Like almost like 200 million, I think, and just like commercials and media and Twitter. Like he has so many like YouTube advertisements and everything. Like. He's trying his best to like get in people's minds. Like he's been in a lot of commercials I've seen, but like
Mike Pompeo?
No,
he's the person behind Mike Pence. So if Trump were to die and Mike Pence were to die, then he would be the next in office as to be president. So I don't know what like that his position is called, but it's pretty high up there. And basically, one of our language arts teacher at our school, that's his like direct like brother.
Really?
So she says at their Thanksgivings and stuff, there's just like CIA like agents, just like they have to stand there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, damn, dude, like that's crazy. All the teachers always say when she's mentioned that like. Oh, I wonder how their holidays are, because CIA his like bodyguards always have to be next to him.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the cost for like doing that, like how many taxpayers' dollars are going into just like protecting, you know, like everybody from like Trump down
like all the way down. And like past like presidents and like vice presidents, they get protection too, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Presidents definitely get protection.
If they're like living presidents, like Obama, Bill Clinton, they all get like they have to have protection from.
I wonder if they get protection if they're removed from office, like impeached. Probably.
I don't know.
Like, nah,
I mean, Trump's impeached, but he's still like he's still in the White House.
Yeah. So, I wonder why they have it like that. They shouldn't like call it like impeachment. Like I don't know. But
I think I
guess there's like two levels of impeachment. You know, you have to get it from both the House and the Senate.
Yeah, that's like the checks and balances. Because like if like you said, the Senate is mostly Republican, but the House is Democratic. And so if the House gets like the majority of the power, then it's not fair for the Senate. But if the Senate was Democratic too, then
my econ teacher, he says like if the House and the Senate flips, then something else, but I forgot. But he would say like if it flips, then I think Trump wouldn't. I think it wouldn't get reelected, or would. I don't really know, but he would say something about that, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
He always, this dude, he's like. Oh, if a Democrat gets elected, like just any of them, he said they're trying to get rid of like the Second Amendment and stuff. So he's like, I'm gonna go buy a gun before, and then he's like, if they try to screw like my house or anything, I could have protection. I'm like, okay, that's cool.
I mean, a lot of people like even like Eddie Bravo, like he was saying some shit like he didn't want to. Like lose his protection, like of his right for guns. I mean, I know it's like protected in the Second Amendment, right? Mm-hmm. But people are like taking it to another level by like, like thinking that the government is going to take away like all their rights from it. But
Yeah.
you know,
It was such like an old like implemented amendment that like I don't know when it was implemented, but it was probably in like the 1800s.
No, 1700s. Like
Dang.
it was at first it was like the Articles of Confederation, which was like made the government too weak, and that led to like Shays Rebellion and stuff they teach you in school. But after that, they realized the government was too weak and it couldn't like pay for the army or couldn't like afford to stay in power. So then they needed this new government, and so they made like the Constitution. Yeah. And in that there was like the Bill of Rights.
Oh yeah.
And then that was from the Amendment 1 through 10.
Yeah. Dude, I was in A push last year, yet I still don't remember. Like I remember some of this, but I have to like have it told to me. I don't know.
I mean, like for me, like I love history, like not just American history, but like all over the world, because like there's so much to learn from other people's stories. Like history is just basically a lot of things in history are repeated over and over again, like from thousands of years ago. It might be in a different situation, but there were humans back then and there are humans today. And there's just so many stories to learn from, like politics to like life lessons, and it's just great to look at. I mean, I know in school they teach us like the history, like that's like white history right there. Yeah. Like Western history where they like teach you about Columbus and stuff like that, but they don't really go into like what really happened.
Yeah. Like my dad always tells me about like obviously he doesn't know firsthand, but he would tell me that like stories that he's like, it has to be true because his grandpa, his like dad, their grandpas, they would all pass on the same story. So he's like, he would say that like they're called Jains or like saints thousands of years ago in like India, and they'd be able to like they'd be so interconnected with themselves that and just practice meditation for hours on end that they'd be able to like just pretty much do whatever they want. Like they'd be able to, he said they'd be able to levitate like over there. I'm like, damn, like chill. Like, is that possible? He's like, I mean, I don't know, but he would say that when you're that interconnected, he's like they look for solutions inside. So they meditate and they self-heal. So if there's anything like any problems, they'll like self-heal. And he told me this one story where this dude, barefoot, like he didn't bring no type of food, anything, no water. He walked up to the Himalayas, not like all the way to the top, obviously, but he walked to one of like the plateaus or peaks. He just sat there in a meditative pose and meditated for like about 48 hours, so 2 days. Yeah. And he had like a whole crowd around him after like the first day. Yeah. And then he was meditating. He woke up, just stood up and walked away. And I'm like, he's like, damn, bro, how do you do that with no food, no water? Like people say you can't live without water for 3 days. But obviously I don't know if that story is true, but I want to believe it's true because there's so many different things that my dad's told me. And like also that story of like Vasco da Gama, how he founded, like he sailed all the way to India. From what I know, what actually happened was he was communicating with this, I forgot his name, but it was someone from India who actually sailed there first. They met each other, and then he said, "Oh, there's this like, do you want me to take you to India?" Like I came, and he's like, "Oh, that'd be great." So they basically escorted him to India. So his ship was a small ship, like in the middle for their time and their generation.
Yeah, he was Vasco like Portuguese.
Portuguese.
Portugal.
So what they thought was big, that was Vasco da Gama shit. They thought that was high tech, and then they saw these Indian fleets, and they were a good 3 times bigger, and there was 4 of them around Vasco da Gama's ship, and they escorted him to India. So like that shows like how they were so advanced, but I don't know, they lost it, dude. Like now they still have everything. It's just so overpopulated that and like
I mean, it just started with the people becoming too greedy
like
and
selfish.
at the top.
I know,
like the corruption there, and in a lot of third world countries, you know, and it also has a lot to do with the British control of, you know, they controlled like half the world.
Dude, yeah.
Like at
that
one point,
small area just controlled so much.
Just that one small island in Northern Europe.
Like, there was also this dude in the 1900s, like I think 1910, 1920. He was a mathematician from India. Mm-hmm. This is like a pretty trippy name. His name's Srinivasa Ramanujan. Mm-hmm. And he basically since he was like a kid, he would just he didn't really like school. He didn't like learning. But then the only thing he liked was math, and he was never formally educated in it because he would go to school. They'd make him learn all that stuff, and he didn't like it. So he pushed through like school, but he would only focus on math. And this dude, he was never really like educated or tutored or anything, but he would do these amazing like math problems. And he applied to 2 universities in India. They looked at all his other academics besides from math, and they were like, okay, no. So they denied him. He got accepted into one. He was failing all his other stuff. They kicked him out. So then famous mathematician in Britain at the time, Godfrey Harding, he actually wrote, Ramanujan wrote a letter to him, and then with like a letter with some notes about just formulas and like
different equations.
Yeah, different formulas, like what was it? Partitioning of numbers, infinite series, just like modular functions. Modular functions, from what I know, are like the top of the math. Like you can't, like, it's basically like the quantum level of things. Like it's very complex. And he would just do these, and then Harding saw that letter and was like, oh my God, he brought him straight to like their academy or whatever. And this dude ended up creating and the reason he could do these, from what he said personally, was that I'd have dreams, and he'd be connected with this Indian god. Don't know who, like, the name of her, but he said he would be like connected with her, and she'd show him these equations. He'd wake up all of a sudden and write them down. He would never know how to prove them. Later they figured that out, but they all ended up being true. And like, it's just crazy. Like this dude with no formal education, he out math pretty much like just geniuses that have been learning since they were kids. So like that's a crazy story that I heard.
Yeah, like that's like I'm pretty sure
it's like that's a born genius pretty much.
Yeah, but like more than that, what he's figured out is like the power of the mind of just like focusing on what on what you really enjoy doing. Mm-hmm. And like if you really focus on it and you really have a passion and you obsess over it, like that's the key.
Yeah, if you dream about something, like
you got to be thinking about it all day, every day. Dream of it. Like that's why he couldn't focus on other subjects, is because, you know, his passion, his life is just doing like math, and that's what he loved.
And like good people die young. He died like probably when he was 30, because he wasn't used to that like temperature in England. Mm-hmm. And he got like pneumonia or something and passed. But like this dude, he created like partitioning of numbers, which is pretty much, if you want to find the partition of 5, so there's 7 different ways you can get to the number 5. So 1 + 1 + 1, and then like on, and then like 3 + 2. So there's 7 different ways. This dude found the formula for that, and the formula has pi in it. Mm-hmm. Like pi is like the whatever, like, so it has to do with the circle, obviously. Yeah. And how could you possibly think that finding the partition of numbers like pie would be in that formula. So this dude was a genius. Like I don't know, he dreamt of it. He like thought so deeply into it.
Mm-hmm.
So like yeah, it was crazy, and like all those people were impressed with him. But yeah, that was a pretty interesting story.
Yeah, that's what like happens to a lot of people when you're really obsessed over it. Like in mixed martial arts, like
yeah.
a lot of those fighters, like we saw the Conor McGregor fight,
Dude,
like you had to be obsessed over your craft, like to put your body through such physical limitations. You have to see yourself doing that in your mind. You got to believe in yourself, and you got to really train.
Yeah.
And
this dude, he was like, he's had like league, he's like two division like champion. He went through legal issues. He came back from that, and he's still like he's had that, and he does it. He says he does it all for his family, like Ireland. Like he does it all for the reputation of them. So that's like a great way. And he's just like his mentality. He goes in there trying to just rip off your face. Like he's brutal until the ref stops him. He'll not stop. But that's his craft. That's how he was trained. He's so good at what he does. Speaking of UFC and like MMA, I'm actually it's a free trial, but like I love it at the UFC gym in Costa Mesa.
Yeah. How is it?
Dude, it's like their equipment is crazy, and this octagon, they have an octagon in there. Real life, like it's 22 feet in diameter, 22.5 or something like that. And so this thing, it's actually huge, and like they have this whole, it used to be a Mitsubishi dealership, so it was big, and their whole back area is like just Muay Thai bags and like a bunch of different like equipment. And so like yeah, I just pretty much like I work out there. They have like all the equipment you'd find in a gym, maybe like a little less, but they have each of everything. And then I go in the gym, and like I was there for 3 hours like two days ago, just grinding.
Yeah.
Like I was just hitting the bag for an hour and 30 minutes. I've never had any training, but like this could have sounded really stupid, but I play UFC 3, and like I've always just like liked MMA and like Muay Thai, kickboxing. My brother's friend who's been kickboxing for a while, like I showed him a couple kicks, and he's like, dude, if you're this natural at it, like you should try it. So I got the free trial, and it's so fun, like hitting the bag. Like after what happened to Kobe, I was there for like so long, and just it's like the best stress reliever. And also like I think meditation is, but that's a whole nother topic. But yeah, it was just this UFC gym's really fun.
Yeah, like martial arts in general. Like people think that it's like something, like it's like a fighting. Like you shouldn't.
That's what my dad thinks, dude.
Like it's just like fighting, but this is like an art. There's a reason why it's called martial arts.
You know,
it's because your body, you know, you have to train for this, and it's like certain movements that you do that really empower your mind and your focus.
So like when someone at the UFC gym in the locker, he told me, because I told him basically my dad like isn't really fond of like MMA and stuff, because he thinks that I'm like, he doesn't think that I'm going there socking people in the face, but when he just watches it, he like UFC fights, he's like, oh, it's too brutal, like I don't want you doing that. And I'm like, first of all, it's like the best form of exercise in my opinion. Like I'll be in there for 30 minutes hitting the bag, and I'll be dripping sweat while I'll be in the gym for like an hour, and I'll be like just kind of like medium, like I'll be tired as hell, but I won't be pushing myself as much as the UFC gym. And so I was just telling him it's such a good form of exercise, and I'm just learning self-defense, like it's an art. And basically this dude in the locker room, he's a coach there, he was saying that I was like, oh, they were born and raised in India, they have a different mentality. And he's like, tell them that Indians, like thousands of years ago, they were the first people who had this martial art, where their army, because they were defending from like the Pakistanis, like Middle East, and later on Britain. So they were trained to this art of martial arts, where and basically the Chinese, they came and they learned the art, and they went back and they called it Kung Fu, and then Kung Fu is a derivative of that. So that like general art of Kung Fu actually derived from India, which is pretty crazy. So I need to I told my dad that, and he's like, yeah, I already knew that. I'm like, okay, so why? Like, what's your discrepancy with this? He's like, I just don't like it. So it's pretty hard convincing my dad, but I don't think I'm gonna get the full membership because it's like the basic one's $99, but you don't get any free classes or anything. Second one, I'm talking about $99 a month. Yeah. Second one's $129 a month. Third one's like $200, I think. Third one you get all clubs and stuff. But it's like I think it's worth it. But the fact that I bought the 2-year membership at 24 Hour Fitness. Yeah. So I'm not trying to ball out again on UFC. Honestly, what I'm gonna do is after my free trial soon, I'm just gonna get a Muay Thai bag, hang it in my backyard, and just hit that, because honestly, that's like the one thing I like the most about it, and one thing I'll use. But
plus they have you could go to classes too.
They have so many classes kickboxing, beginner, fitness, fight.
Do you have to get the membership to do the classes?
Yeah, so with the $99 membership, you have to pay for the classes, I guess. So no one gets that. Everyone gets the $129 a month, because that's when you get all the free classes, all the classes for free actually. Yeah. So there's so many classes, like the jiu-jitsu classes that you do in the octagon. Mm-hmm. And it's such a good thing to take advantage of if you actually like that stuff. So I guess look into that if you like it.
Yeah. And there's also 10th Planet Fitness and all these other places where you could train. Eddie Bravo, he owns 10th Planet. Oh, and and they specialize in jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, which is probably the best martial art for fighting.
Yeah, because if you're in a street fight and you know jiu-jitsu, dude, you're gonna win. Yeah. Get them on the floor. There's so many different arm bars, arm triangle, darts chokes, just chokes.
Yeah, there's
that you can do. You could break someone's every one of their bones if you know martial arts. If you can do ground play. That's what Joe Rogan actually advocates. He would be in Taekwondo. Yeah. And all these Muay Thai and stuff, but especially he's if you don't know the core, which he thinks is jiu-jitsu and kickboxing, if you don't know that stuff, Taekwondo isn't really going to help you in self-defense, because if you're going to throw a spinning heel kick on someone in the street and they know jiu-jitsu, he said there's 110% chance they're going to beat you because they get you on the ground. He's that's what happened to me when I first started training actual fighting. Everyone would beat the hell out of him on the ground because he didn't really know. He only knew how to throw highly damaging kicks. But if you land that, good. But if you don't and they get you on the floor, it's a disadvantage. So learning all that stuff will make you the biggest powerhouse. But learning only one or two of the arts is it's an advantage, but you won't make the most out of it. But Joe Rogan. His videos.
That's why he's friend with Eddie Bravo, because Eddie Bravo taught him, and also
teaches him.
His other friends.
Yeah, on his podcast, he talks about it, but in one of his videos, it would show him in the gym, throwing spinning back side kicks and stuff. Yeah, he generates so much power, dude. It's insane. You've probably seen those videos.
Yeah, so I mean, he's been training since he was 15, I think, and he was competing too. That was he was competing in Taekwondo tournaments. He was I think he was a national champion or state probably. I think he has a couple state championships and stuff too. But to be that was his main focus from 15 to 21. He was just doing that, and when he started commentating for the UFC, the UFC is a pretty new league. Really, it started in the 90s. Yeah, and like that's when people started figuring out like all these martial arts. There are a bunch of different martial arts like kung fu, jujitsu. Is everything good?
Yeah.
Okay. Like jujitsu and all these different arts, and this is where like everybody came together, and you got to see like which art was like the dominating art, and jujitsu and a lot of different arts.
You know what Krav Maga is? Or like,
Yeah.
I think that's what it's called. It's like, that's like pretty much the art of like killing someone, like going into a fight and using any object near you, just basically like breaking like their body. So that's what like some of like the army and like the Middle East, like that's what they learn, like Krav Maga. That's like the hardest, most hardcore way of fighting. If you know that and you're in UFC, like you'll probably do good because you're going in there and knowing that you're gonna hurt this person. So it's like it's pretty, that art form is pretty crazy. I don't know too much about it, but
like martial arts is just an amazing art form that if you're interested, you should definitely give it a try. Like even just a little bit of it, it's a good exercise for a lot of people, and you develop your body right, and you also learn self-defense, which is important as well.
It's like a whole package of benefits. But also like just working out at the gym, that's like I'm starting to do that like pretty consistently. I wouldn't go that much, but now I'm getting to go. Like you work out a lot too, 24 hour. I
mean, like just exercising a lot, like even if you haven't exercised at all in the past and you're nervous of like going to the gym, just like start up by doing like push-ups and sit-ups in your house, and
just tell yourself go to the gym. Just tell yourself I'm gonna go to the gym for 5 minutes, and then you're gonna think, oh dude, I'm at the gym already, might as well just go. So just go to the gym, do 10 push-ups, and if you want to leave you can leave, but since you're already at the gym you might as well just go. So have that mindset of, all right, I'm gonna just go to the gym today, whatever I do I'm gonna do. And then you'll start like developing like the love for it, and then you'll just start going, and then you'll start implementing eating healthy. So it's all just like a journey, but the main thing is stepping foot in that gym.
Just one step at a time. Like you know how to do like the most weight, start off light and just build up from there. Like in the beginning I started, I think when I was like 13 years old. I didn't do like heavy weights.
Bro, I couldn't even freaking bench like the bar, bro. And I'm a big dude. Like I was so weak, like that. But that was when I was like 15. Like I could do like 5-10 reps of that, just the bar. But now I could obviously do more. But this came with progress. So don't put yourself down for that. Just keep going.
Yeah, that's all part of the process. And then you'll see like as the results develop, you'll see the change in your like attitude, like, and you'll be more positive because exercising and getting your body active, that plays a big part in your mind as well. And it's very important to do.
That's true. One thing Joe Rogan talks about a lot is psychedelics. Like, what's your opinion on that? What he says?
Psychedelics, like it depends like a lot on what kind it is. Like like mushrooms. What's your like thought on that? He talks so much about it. I mean, I think it's like a good experience to have like at least like once in your lifetime.
Like what he says, he has like I think it's like the Santa Claus, like some theory about it, where in like in the north area like of Scandinavia and stuff, these like they're the species of mushroom called Amanita muscaria. It's a mushroom with a red red coloring and then white spots on it, and so it kind of resembled the color of like Santa. And so basically they would say these shamans, they would they would go and they would eat these mushrooms, um, and then they would trip out, obviously, and and then they would it became a tradition to annually go around to people's houses or wherever people lived, and then go and so the snow it snows a lot there. It's up in the north, so the snow would be covering their doorway. They'd get through the chimney, um, and so these shamans would come in and they'd have the sack of mushrooms that they collected, and they'd either trip out and then just give these citizens advice, or they'd give them the mushrooms and then just tell them like what to think about and stuff. Just a bunch of different stuff that they did. But um, yeah, he would go around to these houses, and when you trip and then take a piss, you're like all the psilocybin, the chemical, and psilocin is still in like the pee. And basically, there's so many reindeer up there that they would trip out. They would be like fiends for it, pretty much. They would literally stand by the people who take it. They drink their pee. They literally drink their pee, and they trip out. And basically, it is a rumor that they felt like they were flying.
Yeah.
And so all this like pieces together in some odd way. But basically, and so whenever he'd annually go, they'd have a feast for the shaman who was there, who would give them the advice and the mushrooms. So when they have a feast, you get larger and larger and larger every time. And then yeah, so that's a stereotype. Santa's fat. It's just like he's got flying reindeer. He's red. He's red and white. The stuff like what he wears is red and white, which is the color of Amanita muscaria. Um, and the chimney part where it's too much snow, so he goes down the chimney. And then they make a feast for him, just like we put out cookies for him at night. Like they made a feast for him. So yeah, it was just like that's an interesting thing that Joe Rogan talks about. And another thing he's talked about was with Paul Stamets. He's a myconologist, pretty much like mycelium is something in the mushrooms, and so he studies that. And basically, they were talking about something called the stoned ape theory, and that's like a pretty like controversial theory. So most of you are probably not going to like believe it, be really skeptical. I don't truly believe it, but it's pretty interesting. So basically, the premise of it is that the people, the humans behind us were called Homo erectus, and they they didn't really have language. This was like probably 200,000 years ago or so. They weren't developed as us. They didn't have drawings. They didn't have like pictography. They didn't have like developed language. They didn't have art. They didn't have a lot of these things that Homo sapiens have developed. So basically, what Paul Stamets, Terrence McKenna. He was like basically just someone who like a really smart dude, actually. Like if you listen to some of his podcasts, like the way he speaks is very like sharp. So he would test out a bunch of different psychedelics, and he came up with this theory, stoned ape theory. So these Homo erectus, they would go around, and as they were shifting through wherever they lived, they'd immigrate, and they'd come upon these mushrooms, and there's hundreds of thousands of different species. There's like thousands of psychedelic ones, so they're curious, they'd eat them, and they trip out. And basically, when you eat psychedelic mushrooms, or any psychedelic in general, your brain complexity increases. So like your brain complexity is at where it's at, and then when you take these psychedelics, it increases so much. So you're using more of your brain, way more actually of your brain. That's why when you trip, you see a bunch of things. But so they're saying that they would take this, they'd increase their brain complexity, and then they'd take them and take them, not obviously every day, but they would keep taking them, and it kept increasing their brain. And that's pretty much how we developed into Homo sapiens. And that's how
That's
that's
like a
kind
part
of,
of it.
yeah, that's part of it. Obviously evolution, everything like survival of the fittest, all that was implemented in it. But they're saying that this was not a big part of it, but at least a part of it, that the way we evolutionized, the way we started implementing language and a bunch of things that we have now, that Homo erectus didn't have, uh, was through psychedelic mushrooms and all that.
We had to have like complex thoughts.
Yeah,
different.
And it's called like
ideas.
stoned ape theory because like I think even back then when it was just like apes, they would be curious. They would go around climbing trees and stuff. Like mushrooms grow on trees as well. So they'd eat these mushrooms, trip the hell out, and then just kind of get smarter and smarter, increasing their brain complexity. So that's one theory that's like very interesting. So yeah.
Yeah.
Says Terence McKenna with the stoned ape theory. So Dennis McKenna, his brother, actually like he thinks it's a little far fetched, but he kind of does believe in like a little bits of it, that it's scientifically proven it increases your brain complexity. So it's a pretty interesting thing, and that's what mushrooms.
Yeah.
So yeah, mushrooms have psilocybin, and it turns into psilocin. So yeah, it's pretty interesting.
It gives you like a different experience. But like, there's a lot of books that he wrote too. Like,
oh yeah, this dude wrote so many.
35
his
plus
like
books.
I recommend listen to one of his podcasts. Like he sounds way different than he looks. It's pretty funny, but
it says like he died at like 2000.
Yeah. But he was like a genius, pretty much. Like he was super smart, and him and his buddies, like they would just try out different like psychs, and so yeah, they would try out like LSD, which is lysergic acid diethylamide, and then also DMT, which is, and then dimethyltryptamine. And so basically what I was reading earlier, that you actually produce through like your pineal gland, humans produce DMT in their body. So when they have like psychosis and stuff, that might be, scientists think that might be a reason that they're seeing all that stuff. But yeah, I was reading about that, and there's also this in the Sonora Desert and like the Colorado area. There's this toad. The scientific name is Bufo alvirus, and basically this toad, it's through its glands, it secretes this toxin, and that toxin is 5-meo DMT, which is 5-methoxy and then dimethyltryptamine. So that's one of the biggest like hardcore hallucinogenics in the world. So what the people in the Sonora Desert area, they'll get these toads, and they squeeze their glands, rub it on glass, and then when they rub it on glass, so when they rub it on the glass and it dries out, it turns into the powder. DMT is in a powder, so they'll scrape it off and they smoke it, and it just like it trips them out. Like it's such a mindset changer. Like it'll make you. I've obviously never tried it, but they say it changes your mindset. Like it could be like most of the time,
perspective.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get. It broadens like your perspective. It makes you see things in a way that you've never seen, because we have this tunnel vision way of seeing things. We may not know it, but it's true.
Mm-hmm.
But when you take these things, it broadens your perspective so much, and like you get to see like different dimensions and different things, geometrical shapes, and just a bunch of things. through these psychedelics. And so also there's this thing that the Amazonian people use, called it's a medicinal, like spiritual medicine. They make it into a tea called ayahuasca.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that.
And there's this, it derives from there's a scientific name for it, but it's called B. capi or B. capi. I think it's capi, and it's a vine. And they get this vine, and it basically, it has this monoamines monoamines oxidase inhibitor. So it's a MAOI, and basically if you try to orally ingest DMT, your enzyme, your monoamines, I think it's called, look at MAOIs.
MAOI.
Yeah. Yeah, monoamine oxidase inhibitors. So monoamine oxidase enzyme is in your body, and when you orally ingest DMT, it metabolizes it way too quickly for you to feel anything. But this inhibitor in the B. capi vine actually allows you to orally ingest DMT, and basically there's this thing in the vine, another scientific name, I forgot it, but it basically allows you to get the DMT side of it. And so you make it into a tea, or they make it into a tea, and they'll drink it during their like rituals and their spiritual gatherings and stuff. And basically like if we go to the Amazon right now and meet with them, like there, and you hike into the forest or something, they're gonna be seeing like way different. I'm not talking about while they're tripping, but just their perception of things, like looking at like a leaf, they'll be thinking way different than what you're thinking of looking at that same leaf. So it's a big perspective changer, and they believe so highly of it, and so spiritually, that they actually feed a teaspoon of the ayahuasca tea to their newborn babies. Damn. Newborn babies, like they'll just open their mouth, feed it to them. Babies will trip out, and they don't do this every day. It's only when like in gatherings and stuff, maybe annually, or like
it's like a
semi-annually,
spiritually, like religious thing.
Yeah, that's what they use it for. So, and you could only get it in like the Amazonian era, that vine, or somewhere in like the Maryland, Maine area. And there's actually shamans up in that area where they get the vine and they actually make the ayahuasca and stuff, because it's like their own religion, like they're shamans, so they practice their own thing, so that they're like allowed to, I guess, to do that. But yeah, there's only certain places where you can experience that. So I think, I don't know if Joe Rogan has done it, but one of the people on Joe Rogan's podcast, Graham Hancock, like his intellect, his diction is just crazy. Like this he's so smart. And he's took mushrooms, bunch of different kind, LSD, and then DMT. And I think he's tried the 5-MeO-DMT too, the hardcore stuff from the toad. And he's tried like different dosages of that, and he's also tried microdosing. And what he says about microdosing is basically where you take, for a 1 to 2 month process, you'll take 0.4 to 0.8 grams of a psychedelic. I'm talking about mushrooms here, where you take 0.4 to 0.8 grams of a mushroom every 4 days for 2 months, and then you just stop for at least 6 months. And basically, he says it heightens your brain complexity, and it never goes down. It's not like it heightens it after 6 months or after a certain amount of time goes down. He says it just stays there. And he says, I can notice that after, like not right away, obviously, but months later, he'll notice that his ability to, for cognitive, like reception and being able to memorize things, read something, and remember it is just way up, like out of the charts, you know. So he was saying that it truly does increase your brain complexity, and like it allows for memorizing things very fast. So that was so interesting, and like this dude's not stupid. Like you could tell by the way he speaks. On his name is Graham Hancock. On watch one of his like Joe Rogan podcasts. Like this dude's very smart, and so yeah, that was just really interesting to me. So there's a whole like world of like psychedelics and stuff that I think the government has put like a very bad label on it, where it can like it can help some people.
Stereotyped it in a way.
Yeah.
Of like it being like
the stupid people who take psychedelics are the ones who say, "Oh, I'm trying to get fucked up. I'm trying to take this and just trip out for like 10 hours or like trip out for a while." But like the smart people, they either do it for helping their disorders or do it spiritually, trying to get something good out of it, which is what I think the way you should be taking it.
Because it's like natural too, right?
Yeah, it's natural. Like shrooms grow in such a way as like humans grow. Like it's very similar. Like that's what Joe Rogan talks about. That's what a couple other people talk about. But yeah, like Terrence McKenna's brother, Dennis McKenna, he's still alive, and he talks a lot on Joe Rogan's podcast. Some interesting stuff on there.
Yeah, like I watched this video right here. And
oh yeah, I watched that too, the Vice one.
Yeah.
This dude went to the Sonora Desert in the Seri community of the Sonora Desert, and he tried, and this doctor, he's known for helping people like this who want to try it out. He guides them through it. Mm-hmm. He goes, he lights it and makes you take 3 puffs. Like everyone says who's took it on like Reddit and everything, they say like that third hit is like the hardest, but that's the breakthrough hit pretty much.
He said not to exhale, just like
keep it in, and then once that third hit, he lets it go, and then boom, like your life changes right there. So yeah, like we both seen this video. It's pretty crazy. It's on.
You guys could check it out on YouTube.
Yeah, it's called "Getting High with Hallucinogenic Toad Prophet."
Yeah.
From Vice. Yeah. So it's pretty crazy.
Good video to check out if you're interested.
Yeah, but the fact that like a toad can secrete like a toxin or this sort of chemical and make you like, who would have thought of this? Like who thinks of this? Like this had to,
like, I bet somebody just like picked up a toad or something and then like it just like went in their mouth or whatever.
No, but that's the thing. This DMT can't be orally ingested unless you have the monoamines oxidase inhibitor.
Really?
Yeah. So I don't know how like someone's like, okay, I'm gonna smoke this like toxin once it dries up. So something that I want to learn about that, but it's pretty crazy. And another thing Terrence McKenna said is how like people smoke marijuana way too frequently. Like it becomes an everyday thing of their life. But what Terrence McKenna said is it could be something spiritual and very medicinal. If you just didn't do it if you did it in like segments of 3 to like 6 months or to years, basically like he said you have to wait and you have to like get it out of your system, and like just like with any other psychedelic, you build such a tolerance to it. Not as quickly with psychedelics, you can build such a tolerance to it. You have to wait at least 2-3 weeks, or else like if you take one the next day, to take the same thing the next day, it's not gonna affect you. You're just gonna be wasting it. So Terrence McKenna would say that if you like don't smoke weed and then take like 3-4 like huge hits, like it can put you on like a spiritual level of just like getting high. So yeah, he was just saying that. So people think that it's not very like spiritual, and it's just like you're just getting high. If you maybe try this out, like don't do it for 3 months, which is tough for chronic users. But like if you want to try that, then you could go ahead and try it. Or look up Terrence McKenna and his his like his thoughts on weed. So yeah, that's pretty interesting for any of you smokers out there.
He's wrote a ton of books. Like
this dude's wrote so many books. Also, Aldous Huxley, I think that's how you say his first name, Aldous. He's like from the UK, and he's took I think mycelium. I think it was no. Yeah, look up Aldous Huxley because he took some psychedelic. It's different from shrooms. Aldous. Like that. Look, this dude. He took this book called The Doors of Perception. So, The Doors of Perception. Look, this is Wikipedia thing where he took, I think I was right. Yeah, no, it was mescaline. So mescaline is different from mushrooms. It comes from like the peyote cactus. Like I don't know if you guys played like GTA where you could eat those like hidden peyotes and trip out. But like it comes from the peyote cactus, and it's basically like it's kind of similar to the effects of mushrooms and psilocybin, but it's just it's different at the same time. I don't really know like everything about it, but this book called Doors of Perception by him, I'm gonna read that soon. It's just about his journey, and I think it's based in Hollywood. This dude took it, and he was just documenting his journey, I guess, in this book. And then the second part of it is called Heaven and Hell. So this dude, just from that title, just from these two titles, I think that this dude experienced some crazy stuff, went on it. So I want to read about this. And then there's another book by Carlos Castaneda. And it's called the Castaneda. Yeah, it's called the Adventures of the teachings of Don Juan, and apparently that's another documentation of I think some sort of psychedelic. It might be psilocybin, but yeah, there's just this is my art teacher, Mr. P. No, I'm not saying that.
Just the teacher.
Yeah, just the teacher. He recommended like these. But dude, he recommended like some of these books to me. Like he was like, hey, if you're like want to learn something, then try like read these books. He's read them, and like he said in college, him and his buds would take psychs, and I'm like, damn, that's pretty crazy. And like he's open to me with talking. Like I've just met him this year, but he's like we could have some open conversations, which is cool with like a teacher. So yeah, this dude's super nice, and he said to read about these two people. So yeah, that's something. That was a long talk on psychedelics.
Yeah.
What else is there?
Like to me, like psychedelics, like I heard this somewhere, like I forgot who it was, but like he said most people they look at life in their own perception, their own view, and most people they look at things how they think they are, not the way they actually are. And if you can allow yourself to, like, maybe some people can get in that state of mind without drugs, like it's through meditation and other practices, but that takes a lot more work mentally.
And on this Reddit community, like this DMT Reddit community, everyone says like they reach that point where their ego just dies, and that's like that's probably everyone's, like, not everyone's goal, but that's probably a goal that you should have, because like everyone has ego whether they know it or not. Like they're trying to impress some people, they're trying to show people that they could do this, do that. So like when your ego dies, I think I've never experienced that, but like when they say like you reach that like tipping point off of DMT and your ego dies, like they become a super changed person. So like like I wonder how that is. Like that's pretty crazy off of the DMT.
Yeah, that's what happened to Mike Tyson. Like
Yeah,
a
lot of people talked about it, like popular people, like the Joe Rogan, like he's took it. I don't think he's reached like that point yet, but he says he's gonna take more at once because yeah, you got to take like a good amount, like at least 3 hits, but it's so hard because like you feel it instantly. Like after everyone says after the second hit, like you just want to stop because you already feel so like you're seeing so much shit at once. Like like apparently you feel like you just like your body just moves forward, like your soul just goes to another place and then just retracts all at once, and then you're like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah,
Shit's
like
cool.
Mike Tyson, he told the story like that before he took it as like he was like the biggest, fighter of all time really, and people used to always like regard him as the best, and he would have this huge ego of just like he's the best fighter, he could do anything he wants, and then like that leads to unhappiness for him. Like it led to unhappiness.
Yeah.
And he realized like that he needs to think that he needs to change his perception, and that DMT allowed him to change it. And he realized like the perspective of all of life, that you got to understand other people's perspectives and think in a positive way. And it really like changed his life.
Yeah, that's true. And like, all right, so moving on from this topic of psychedelics, very interesting. Check it out if you thought this was interesting. But so you guys you go to Cal State Fullerton. So like I applied there. I'm a senior in high school. So I got pre-selected. I got a letter pre-selected for the business honors program, which you're in. And on last Wednesday, I had an interview with Dr. Lorenzo Bizzi, who was actually on the podcast. Yeah. And I told him about it. And he's like, oh, I'm so ecstatic to be talking to Shyam's cousin. He's like, he's a great guy. And then so we had the interview, and he's like, okay, I like your like leadership. And like he's like, because I had this Save the Planet club at my school and all that. And so he's like, yeah, like you're pretty much in. You just have to finish this online application, and then just wait for Fullerton to accept you. He's like, they're gonna accept you because you're pre-selected. And then he said like, yeah, and then you can make the decision if you want to come. So my brother is actually gonna be a senior here next year. He's gonna be a sophomore. Sham's gonna be sophomore, and then if I come, I'll be a freshman. And then we're thinking of pledging to the same frat, huh? We're thinking of pledging to my brother's frat. So that'd be super cool because he'd be our big brother, and then yeah, he would just like that would be really fun. So I might consider doing that, but I'm gonna wait till like I applied to San Diego State, which I'm really considering, and then a couple UCs. So yeah. I'm just waiting on that, but that interview went well, and like I'm pretty glad that I got accepted and stuff. Because this the third, the Mihailo or whatever, is that how you say it? Mihailo, yeah. Mihailo, like the School of Business is like the third best business school in the nation. It's like, yeah, people go work for like Google, like Boeing, and like big companies, corporations, from this program that they have. So I think it'll lead to some good stuff, but.
Yeah, like it's just getting like more and more competitive as time progresses. Like,
I wonder how like our kids, like how's dude, we're gonna have to be on like they're gonna have to be another level right of smartness.
Like people are realizing it's clicking for them that like school, like it doesn't really.
So people are starting e-commerce and like stocks and
like they realize now more than ever, like this is the time where you could do what you want. Like this was not a possibility, like even like 50 years ago. Before you had to, like go to school and get a job, and that was like what was set for you, and you weren't able to, do what you really wanted. But we live in probably the best time, like in my opinion, to be alive is right now. Like, yes, we have our problems and stuff. Like there's things that are going on that are bad, but it's not as bad as what was before.
And in like some other countries, like they're experiencing stuff that we would only experience in hell, I guess.
Yeah, like
so it's thankful.
Yeah, especially over here.
Yeah, but like stuff is changing. Like my friend, he does foreign exchange trading, so it's called forex trading. Trades currencies basically, and so he trades. He's only like 17. He's under someone else's account, but he's learning like every day. And this dude, he's making profits. But there's something called the lot size, basically how much money you're betting or like how much money you're putting in and then risking. So he's only doing dollars at a time, not like hundreds of dollars. But yeah, he's making profit, and he's like, right now I'm just trying to like master the art, because it's basically just analysis and like knowing patterns that he's learning from like this company called the Trade House. And so so I think I'm gonna like get into that in like this summer when all the school stuff's done, and just like e-commerce, like buying and selling, trying to sell my dad's product, the CBD product, from his store, like online, trying to get some more business, like using social media. So just so I could like experiment on things, because like I'm young, so we have age on our side. Like Gary Vee says, like we have time and age and our advantage at this age. Like there's no competition, or he's like there's no it's not a competition for who can be a millionaire first and who could marry first and who could have a family first. It's like Gary Vee was in his 30s, 32 or something, before he left his dad's liquor store. Like everyone would think like, what the hell are you doing at 30 years old, not even with a like stable job? But he said that's not how it is. So you just gotta self-assessment and self-worth and self-interest. You gotta know what you like. So honestly, I don't know what I like for sure, but I'm gonna find out through experimenting with all this stuff, because that's the only way you could find out, I guess.
And don't be afraid of failing.
Yeah, like, dude.
It takes
like every successful person failed, dude. Every successful person failed.
Nobody that's ever been successful has,
unless it was handed it to you.
Like Trump. And even then, like he's failed countless amounts of time.
Yeah, through business business ventures. Dude, this dude's awesome.
Things failing. Things always fail. Like life is always going to change, and it's not what happens to you that makes a difference in your life. It's what you do about it that will change your life. So
you action. But Bill Ackman, when he shorted Herbalife, this dude lost over $1 billion, and he was obviously like so like mad and sad, but he moved on. This dude's a hedge fund owner of a hedge fund, dude. I can't even say it. Hedge fund. So there's just countless examples, and so about like school too. Like he was my friend who does the forex trading. He's still in school, but he doesn't want to go to college and stuff. He's like, it's not for me. Like he's like, I want to do e-commerce and like selling just a bunch of different stuff and like getting into this market. So I'm like, that's good. So for some of you like hate school, like just try different things, and find something you like, because school isn't for everyone. But it's just I just love learning. So if I can go to school and just learn, like right now, like I didn't know I liked physics so much, but I'm in physics and I'm like the smart, like I don't want to brag, but I have the best grade in like the class, and I'm really like attentive, and I'm understanding everything like really well. So I love physics, and like I was just reading about like string theory and like just a bunch of different like quantum mechanics and quantum computing and all that. And so it's super interesting. So like just finding what you like. Like I also love econ, so I think I'm gonna do like business econ and as my major, try to learn into that, and then minor in Mandarin, because I studied Mandarin for 4 years in high school, or 8th grade through 11th grade. And then so yeah, that was fun. But about like that physics stuff, like I was reading, you know what quantum computing is?
No.
So I'm no physicist, and I've like the very under basic knowledge of it, but it's like basically a regular computer operates through like something called bits, or basically like it uses bits, and bits are basically zeros and ones. And so when you search something up, when you type in like the letter A, when you like click something, do anything on your computer, it formulates a bunch of different zeros and ones, and
Like
then
a code?
yeah, it's a code, and it finds out like what you want to do, and it happens instantly. Back then, computers, it took time to do that. They figured out a way to do it very quickly. So this quantum computing, quantum means like I guess it's like the most basic, like, or the most complex, or smallest part of like an atom, or smallest part of something, the deepest part of something. So um, when so quantum computers use qubits. Qubits are basically, um, say a good example is when you spin a coin, and it lands, it could either land heads or tails. So that's the concept of zeros and ones. But when you flip a coin and it lands, it can be heads or tails, which is zeros and ones. But when you spin a coin and you try to determine while it's spinning um, what side is heads or tails, what side you're looking at, if it's heads or tails, that's virtually impossible. It's moving too quick. So when you're quantum computing, and using qubits, it's basically using three different things all at once: superpositioning, entanglement, and interference. I That's like the three things I know. I don't know anything about them like very complexly, but basically it allows the computer to act super fast and finish like crazy calculations. And it's so there's like this impossible test that Google made their quantum computer do. Um, I think this was like, I don't know if it was recently, but they have a quantum computer, and they made it do it, and it finished it in like 2 minutes. And then they said it would have took like over like 10,000 years for a regular the highest supercomputer of a regular computer to do it. But IBM was like, oh no, it would have took our supercomputer like 2 days. But like that's still crazy that this quantum computer did something in 2 minutes where it would have took 2 days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a level of advancement. Like,
yeah, we're advancing so much.
Like in the past, like 20 years, from like not having any digital, like consumer like centric devices, to now everything's digital. Every information you could possibly think of, like you could find on the internet, and you could connect with so many people around the world. I mean, it's just a great time to learn. Like you said, learning is, everybody should want to learn and have the excitement for learning.
Because if you think you know everything, you don't know everything.
Yeah, and it's not even about knowing everything. It's just about the excitement, and the process of trying to learn it is more important than actually knowing it. Go out and figure it out, and try everything you can, because that's what life's all about.
Mm-hmm. And then also that, so I mentioned string theory, which I also don't really know much about. I read like 2-3 articles, but string theory is, I guess, the most like well-written concept of quantum mechanics. So quantum mechanics is basically quantum physics, so it's intertwined. And string theory is basically, you're saying that it's the best way of so quantum mechanics is probably the most like truthful and like well based supported thing. But when you implement gravity into it, it throws everything off. Mm-hmm. So string theory is the best theory of quantum mechanics when implementing gravity. So it's saying that this is very basic. It's saying when you keep subdividing something, so your atom has a nucleus, it has protons and electrons and all that, like haptons and like bosons. Those are very like complex things, but basically no, protons and electrons. So inside of those, like if you keep subdividing it, ultimately they're saying it's all just a string, and it's vibrating at different frequencies and modes. And so these are called like quarks, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, the premise of it is like if you keep subdividing something, ultimately we're all just a string vibrating at different frequencies. And so like it's such a complex like theory if you want to get into it, which like I'm still reading about it, but it's and watching videos. But there's this video by World Science Festival called "What is String Theory." It's like a good animation of it. Dude explains it really well. It's only like a 2-minute video, but it's like so crazy to think that um, we're all just pretty much like a string vibrating at a different frequency. Because when you keep subdividing something, how much can you subdivide it until? See, that's like that's why quantum is such a hard thing, because quantum is the smallest part of something, but how do we know it's the smallest? Because you can keep going deeper, you know? So string theory, I think, and what professionals think is the best way to grasp everything in physics, where, it's like the framework of physics, basically. Like everything makes sense with the string theory when you implement gravity. So like when in space, we live a 3-dimensional world, but in space time, it's 4-dimensional. And so like all these like Einstein and like physicists, they were just like they were just talking about space time and all that, and so it was that's super interesting.
Neil deGrasse Tyson, he said, I think there are like 11 dimensions.
Yeah.
In total, and like that scientists are aware of.
The thing about there's also something called superstring theory, which is like
really?
Yeah. So that's like it's saying when you say there's a string theory, it's like the conclusion is that there's 26 or like 22 dimensions, which is absurd. Mm-hmm. So people are saying that there's actually 4, and like those other dimensions don't really exist. Like, and so that's where it's like super confusing. But when there's that many dimensions, that's so microscopically advanced.
Neil deGrasse Tyson, he said that like we can't like show it, like we can't comprehend it in our mind because what it looks like, but the math, it works out. Like when the math they do to see how many dimensions there are, like it works out. But like it's pretty impossible for our mind in this 3D world to imagine what 11 dimensions looks like.
Yeah, because we're only seeing things through light shines on it, it reflects off of it, and it goes to our eyes, and then we see it. But when you're trying to look at something so microscopic, like those dimensions, it's impossible because light can't reflect off of it. Light will go around it. It's too, believe it or not, it's too small for light for it to even reflect off of. So that's where it's like very like crazy, and like how we can't see things that small, and so it's just controversial as to what's true and what's not true. But yeah, that's my freaking talk on string theory of the most basic level.
Yeah, I mean,
probably got some things wrong, but
yeah, you guys
don't quote me.
Look it up if you're interested.
Yeah.
But physics in general, like
it's like the universal language, so like everything makes sense. Like
I enjoy like learning about it, but like I'm not so invested about like the complex theories of how it actually, like the math of it all. But I enjoy like
it's fun to know.
Thinking about the theories and like figuring out questions of like why things are as they are, and what can make them different, or how did they come to be. And it's a important subject, but like at the same time you got to realize like this is what Neil deGrasse Tyson said. He said like some things in the universe are meant to just be unknown. Like it's just like sometimes it's too complex for us to imagine. Like that's why there's like a big debate on how the universe even started. Like it's some people say it's the Big Bang, and there are a lot of theories on it, but we never really would know exactly how it happened. But
that's true.
Minutes, okay, 10 more. Our phones are gonna die. Okay, putting that out there. Okay. It's gonna be 2 hours.
Really?
Yeah.
2 hours.
Jesus. Daniel can talk forever, man.
Damn.
Sam is over here.
Sam's just dying in the back. He's starving.
If you guys can hear me, I sat through 2 lectures essentially, bro. Almost.
Just hanging.
Oh, that's
all right. We're gonna go on to 20 more theories about now.
Dude, did you take some shrooms to expand your mind?
No, I didn't.
Dude, you talk so much. I mean, I don't mind it. A lot of interesting things were said. Like Jesus.
Yeah. Like about.
If you guys can hear me, this man improved. He went from like a half an hour podcast in his first podcast to now 4 times that shit. Almost 2 hours, man.
I don't know. No, but I had some topics that I wanted to talk about, so it was good.
It was interesting, to discuss, and I think that about sums it up right here.
That sums it up probably.
And so thank you guys for listening and watching. I appreciate you guys for listening to this talk. I hope you guys enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And thank you for coming on.
Yeah,
here.
no problem, bro.
Yeah.
Always.
All right.
We'll go 3 hours next time.
All right. Love you guys.
Bye. Later, bro.